Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me today. And my name is Anna Naumova. I am a senior product manager at Zello. Zello is a push-to-talk, walkie-talkie mobile application. And now we are working closely with first responders to fight COVID-19 disease. So it's pretty useful on both sides, our consumer side and customers. And now we're going to talk about how to adjust as an immigrant in a global market. I wouldn't tell specifically about PM because before that webinar, I talked to 35 immigrants, mostly Russian, because most of my friendship circle is Russian people. But anyway, I had Latinos, I had Indians as well. So I gathered people's feedback and tried to prepare presentation for you to help you in your future path. About me, a little bit. As I said, I'm from Russia, and I moved to the US in 2013. Sorry, it's 3 years ago. In 2006, I launched OK.ru. It's a social network like Russian Facebook, and I was a marketing manager at the time. In 2013, 2016, I was responsible for monetization of .ru via virtual gifts. It's like stickers. And this project brought 50% of company's profit at the time. It was a strategically important project for the company. In 2016, I moved to the US and I joined Fasten, is ride-sharing application Uber and Lyft competitor in the US. It's like Ola, and which we made 25,000 trips a day at our peak time. In 2017, it was a boom of crypto, and I decided to try the crypto industry as well. And I joined a BitClave, a crypto startup, and we raised $25 million using ICO. And in 2018, I got a senior product manager role at Zello and moved from California to Austin. Let's talk about immigrants from the positive side. I'll be talking more about US because I have more experience in the US, and I believe that immigrants are power of tech industry. Let's say 57% of Bay Area's STEAM tech workers are immigrants. STEAM is science, technology, engineer, and math. And 25% of business founders in the US are immigrants. And 50% of billion-dollar startups are founded by immigrants. So let's say Uber was founded by Canadian-born Garrett Camp. SpaceX, Elon Musk from South Africa. WeWork, Adam Newman was born in Israel, and Peter Thiel from Palantir was born in Germany. And there are a bunch of top-level Indian managers in the US. Let's say Arvind Krishna, CEO of IBM, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, Sundar Pichai, CEO of Alphabet, Google. Where the US technology workforce comes from. And if we talk about San Francisco Bay Area, 57% are foreign born, and only 18% of people who works in San Francisco Bay Area was born in California. And if we talk about hub technology innovation hubs, we don't talk about only Silicon Valley, and there are a bunch of big cities, innovation hubs all around the world, like Singapore, London, Tel Aviv, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Bengaluru. And country also compete for recruitment. This billboard is in Bay Area, and it's Canadian billboard. Canada invited tech workers. H-1B is a visa worker is in the US, and they said that if you have problems with H-1B visa, with work visa in the US, pivot to Canada. That's also pretty interesting. What's the reason for immigration? It's obviously work, education. Someone is looking for a better life for themselves or better future for their kids. Climate as well, curiosity, personal challenges, and repression in your native countries and other minor cases. And why it's important? Because when we will struggle from difficulties and troubles in your country, you have to move back and understand your core reason, your core motivation, why you immigrated, and it will help you to fight and conquer with all difficulties you'll meet in immigration. Let's say better life, for sure, it's a good reason. But talking about curiosity, it's kind of not a strong reason. It's not strong motivation. As well as maybe climate. For sure, if you have some disease or health problems because of climate, yeah, it makes sense. But it's just you want to live in a, I don't know, warmer place. It's not a strong motivator for you to immigrate. So think about it carefully. What problems people meet after immigration or before? For sure, it's visa questions and legalization. We won't talk about it today. It's like different topic. New bureaucracy. For sure, you will meet new rules and new procedures in the new country. Let's say in the US, I had to get new SSN, its social security number, new bank account, new credit card, credit score, credit rating, new driver license, new health insurance. I have to understand child education and their rules, and for sure new taxation. And there are a bunch of new stuff you have to learn and you have to fight after immigration. Language problem is pretty big problem, and we will talk about this later. Missing your friends and relatives, for sure. And if you are able to relocate with your significant one or with your family, do it. It will definitely help you to adjust in your country. Work environment and new work processes. We'll talk about this later. Social problems and cultural problems. We will also talk about this later today. And also routine and habit changes. Let's say if you get used to having specific delivery service or travel in specific place, for sure you have to change these habits. Let's talk about language. I know there are many people from India, and if you guys immigrate to English-speaking countries like the US, UK, or like Australia, you probably won't suffer from this problem because you already can speak English very well in India, in your country. But if you immigrate to Middle East countries or Germany, Latin America, or if you are not from India, let's say I'm from Russia and only 5% of Russian people can speak English. So this problem, based on my survey I made before this webinar, this was the problem number One. People mention it every time because I ask them, which difficulties did you encounter when you immigrate? And they, almost everybody pointed language. And especially if you are a product manager, speaking a good language, it's a must. It's must have to, because communication for product managers is 80% of your time you will spend communicating with stakeholders and other people, and your team has to understand you clearly, and you have to understand people. And I'm not talking about accents. I'm talking about like your speech, your like clear conversation. So if you decide to relocate to another country, start learning language as soon as possible. You can hire a tutor, you can watch movies, read books, being in your native country. You don't need to go out and spend money learning language. You can do it from home. And my fourth advice, call to local support. I did it a lot. I called to American grocery stores, like stores, other organization. I called them and tried to solve my problems, like fake problems, but I had English practice for free. So it's a cool advice. Also, when you immigrate, like after you immigrate, try to leave your comfort zone and reduce communication with in your native language. Try to find local friends and community, and it's easy to find immigrants, not just like people who was born in that country and grew up there, like 100% local. It's easier to start with immigrant who moved like approximately at the same time you did. And you can find it on meetups, the website like meetup.com, it's super helpful, or any groups, or hobby. If you like hiking, biking, fishing, like yoga, anything, try to find friends with the same hobbies. The second problem is social, and it's a good advice from my colleague. The first one: before you move, ask your friends to introduce you to other people in your area. It's absolutely super helpful, because you will come to the place when you have already someone and you're not a stranger. If someone introduces you to someone, it means that you have somebody shared friends, and it will help you not to be alone and not to be stranger. So, and I bet you'll find a lot of common friends, shared friends, people you may know in the new area. Also join local and hobby communities on Facebook. On the right side, I posted the screenshot from my Facebook. The group I joined is Lady Geeks in Austin. I live in Austin, Austin Moms, Russian Moms in Austin, and other groups with my interest. At first, when you just move, try to rent apartment close to your native community. I know that it might contradict with my previous slide about language, but you have to find balance. If you move straight to absolutely a known community, it might be more stressful for you. So you have to find a balance, maybe to like first several months live close to your native community and try to isolate yourself pretty smoothly and find people in the local community. Find immigrants. As I said before, it's easier for you to start talking, communicating with people like you, like immigrants who struggled, who has the same problem like you have. Be proactive, explore new opportunities, meet new people. And for sure, keep in touch with your relatives and friends from your native country. Cultural differences. It's my favorite topic, and because every culture is different, and before you move, you like learn social rules and laws in your country, because something might be rude in one country and polite in other country. So you have to understand that rules, understand sensitive topics like race or religion in the US. It's better to avoid that. Gestures in different countries, some gestures mean different things, and learn local holidays, including religious holiday. I highly recommend Culture Map book. I posted a picture on the right side, and we will talk a little bit about some rules from this book later today. And for sure, listen and watch very carefully. Pay attention to how people act and talk, and learn from them. People might look the same but behave differently. Let's talk about some cultural differences was mentioned in this book. But it does highlight, it's my favorite. I just want to share to make you interested in that book in the future. Communication. I'm from Russia, and you can see that Russia is more high context country. High context means that communication is sophisticated, nuanced, and implicit. And as well as India, we are pretty similar high context country. But US is low context. It means that your communication has to be super precise, simple, and clear. And when I moved to the US, I struggled a lot because people didn't understand me. And what I after reading this book, I realized, oh my God, I'm super complicated. My speech is super natural. And I started speaking with the children, super straightforward, super explicit and simple. And I improved how people understand me. Trust at work. Also, let's look at the right side, relationship-based. India and Russia in the same place, and we both built our relationship based on personal relationship between the people. We can talk, we can share meals, drinks, visit someone's house, and we can spend personal times with colleagues. But if you see the US and Western Europe, they are task-based. In the task-based place, it means that they build their trust through business-related activities. If you complete the task, you are responsible or reliable. So pay attention on that too. And for sure, US people is individualist, is thinking about their own progress and achievements more than about someone else. Feedback, direct, indirect feedback. Russia is why Russia looks super rude for many countries, because Russia usually gives direct negative feedback, super straightforward, and provided it's frankly and honestly. And criticism might be given in front of the group, and it's normal for Russia. So, but it's absolutely abnormal for US people or Asian people or India as well, where feedback is usually indirect and provided softly and diplomatically, and you can't criticize people for sure in public, for sure. So If you decide to go move work to Russia, Israel, or Netherlands, be ready that you can have really rude negative feedback, not because of you, just because of the culture. Decision-making process in countries like European countries, or it's usually consensual decision, and these decisions are made in groups through conversation. And in like Russia or India as well, or China, the decisions came from the top, from the boss. And that's why my friends, Russian friends, usually complain about a bunch of conversation in Europe. Like people who work in Europe, they complain about, oh my God, it's like too much conversation. We talk all day and we hadn't made any decision. So yeah, leadership, like hierarchical leadership is in like Russia or India or Mexico or like Saudi Arabia and other country. It means that you have a distance between you and your boss. You have subordination, and boss is your leader. And talking about European country or US, the distance between you and your boss is low, and boss is mostly facilitator. And also, I've heard complaints from hierarchical culture that my boss is weak. Not because like boss is really weak, but because the boss doesn't need to make a decision like straight as in your native country. So, and people decide boss is weak and complain about it. Okay, let's talk about work processes and let me check my time. Oh, I'll be very quickly because I want time for Q&A. So you have to understand that your experience in your native country might not be recognized in the new country. It's because it's hard to check your real experience. And I struggled a lot when I moved. I had a bunch of experience in Russia, but nobody cared about my experience in Russia in the US. And they all expected experience in the US, local experience, because they can prove that they know projects better. And for sure, American company usually don't know projects in Russia. And what I did and what helped me is to start with a Russian-based company in the US, because I had my American background, like experience. I started gathering like experience. But on the other hand, all founders were from Russia, and they knew my previous project, and they can prove that because they have connection with Russia. So it helps you to start developing your experience in a new country by working with people from your native country. For sure, ask for referral. In the US, it's must have, especially if you want to apply for big companies like Google, Facebook. You can't apply directly you can, but nobody will consider your resume. You have to ask for referrals. Referrals is networking. People want to refer you if they don't want you. So you need to do this chain of people and ask for referral who work in different companies. And what helped me here with networking and referral, for sure, LinkedIn. I try to find people with common friends, Facebook as well, and Angel List, angel.co website. The job interview process might be different from your country. I don't want to spend time today on that, but I have a lot of useful materials about resume, about job posting sites, how to pass the interview, some useful links on and books. So you can click on this link, useful material, and find a bunch of information how to crack the PM interview in the US. And talking about work, if you get it, if you already got a job, read Culture Map book again, and to be ready to accept new rules like different velocity. People from Russia always complain about business in Europe is too slow. And in opposite, people with European mindset is complaining about Russian business is too intense or American business is too intense. Communication in some countries, it's good to have like bunch of communication and calls and meetings. In the US, let's say people call each other, but in Russia, people usually use chats. People don't like talking to each other. Hierarchy, subordination in the company, decision-making process, it's based on like data-driven or it's your boss gut feeling. And also relationship at work. Is it like friends at work or it's your business partner only? And just slightly, I want to show the resume example. On the left side is my resume adjusted to US markets. I also share this link in the additional documents I attached to this presentation. And what I had before I moved to the US, I had this resume on the right side, which is pretty good apply for European market, but it's not applied for American market. Let's say pictures is not allowed in American resume, but it's pretty good in Russian resume or European. Okay, and here, if you're gonna apply for like American company, there are a list of companies with the highest approval rating for H-1B. H-1B is work visa in the US. So if you wanna try to find a work visa, you can start with that big companies. And other advice from other immigrants I got during my research, for sure, start learning language as soon as possible. The advice number one from everyone. Try to find work in advance if it's possible. It's good to come to the place when you already have something. Prepare thoroughly before immigration. See the slide with the problems, read about taxes, driver licenses, documents, credit cards, insurance, every details. Try to prepare in advance. It makes your transition easily. Find people with similar background, people from tech, product managers, I don't know, women in tech, Indians in tech, Indian Americans, et cetera, et cetera. Try to find your community. Do networking, be proactive, and get along with locals. Create your personal schedule for learning, work, and sport. I like this seventh advice. Forget everything you knew. Consider yourself as being a newborn baby. That's a really cool. It's 100% true because when you moved, you start everything from scratch. Be curious, flexible, don't shy asking people for advice, and don't think people don't like you because you're a different nationality. Like one girl, she's from Colombia. She said, "Oh, I struggled a lot from that I'm Latino, like Americans don't like me." When it was her own obstacles, her own mindset. Like people didn't think that, and she thought that people thought that. So that's absolutely, that would be super cool. And again, if you need my advice, you can reach me directly on LinkedIn or via email or anywhere else. And Piyush will post this presentation with a link on a list of resources about PM job in the US.
With that, let's close the session, and thanks a lot, Anna, for conducting such an insightful session for us. I'm sure everyone will have a lot of takeaways from today's session.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah. Thank you.